All right, so for our pre-ultimate episode or a lesson 199 out of 200, I want to go back and look at a lot of the sort of shortcuts that we've talked about that are going to help hieroglyphics read themselves. Maybe it's a top 10, I don't know if I've got fully 10 tips, but let's kind of jump in. So the first one is to always work smart and not hard. There are so many shortcuts with hieroglyphics, and it can be overwhelming. And that's why I've been very big about repetition. And part of that is repeating the basic glyphs and just continually writing them. The more you draw them, the more you glyph them, the better you're going to get. And it's one of those things. That's why I call the lessons doodling with purpose, because you can sit there anytime and just with a pen and paper and just start doodling your favorite glyphs. Gives you, purposeful behind your doodles. But practice is really important. Context. All right, so now moving over from actually tips on writing to reading. We've talked a lot about this and how if you are looking at something like this is Shinobi throwing at his birds. If you know that's what it's a picture of, well, that's probably what the text says. Think of it as a caption on a picture. And now also consider where you are. Are you at a temple? Are you in a museum? And if you are in a museum, do you know whose exhibit you're in? Because if you're in a King Tutankhamun exhibit, all of the inscriptions are probably about him and his family. So we talked about Shinobi, who is an official. We've been using some examples. And I'll give you guys the book reference next lesson on that one if you want more. So both names of people and structural sentences, things like the offering formula that we've been going through the past couple of lessons. Knowing that this is a very structured and repeated sentence formula, well, it helps you find it. Another thing is to really know that you have to look at the bigger picture. And again, looking at the context. So if you are in Shinobi's tomb and you see something like this, maybe it's building a boat, building a skiff, which is what the, again, translation says. Think of it, again, as a caption to a picture. But sometimes the picture can be part of the caption. Very important. And we used this example a few lessons ago, how kapush for roast is part of the sentence. Which way do you go? Another one. Are you going right to left, or are you going left to right? So there's the same cartouche written both ways. Hey, pause and see if you can transliterate it. So there's a bonus for you. All right. Now, the trick is to always go towards the animals, unless, of course, the animal is charging at you. But the animal's face is the direction you're going to read in. Look for words you know. So I talked about this with full sentences and phrases, but you can really bring it down to the word. If you're struggling, just look for a word. Just look for a single word you know and work out from that. Don't feel like you have to read in the order that everything is there. Understand what different glyphs are, the phonetics, the ideograms, and most importantly, the determinatives, because, well, if you've never seen the glyph before and it's at the end of a word, well, it's a determinative. And there are so many determinatives. One of the nice shortcuts is that if there's an animal at the end of the word, well, it's a determinative for that word, and now you know the vocabulary word for that animal. So, great way to learn vocabulary. Or by recognizing things like the determinative for town and being able to locate that within a larger stela. It can help you just pull that word out. There are hundreds and hundreds of determinatives, which is why I haven't gone over all of them, and I will recommend a book in the last lesson where you can look them all up. But essentially, if you see a glyph you don't recognize, well, 99% chance it's a determinative. Another quick lesson, remember that females always have T, meaning their names and their positions, things like wife, things like mother, get an extra T added at the end, a la Cleopatra versus Alexander the Great. Him being a male and her being a female, there's an extra T added at the end of her name. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're so far. Thank you guys so much for being part of this. I'm so grateful to have you all as students, as watchers, as subscribers, as part of this experience. Next week, we'll wrap it all up on Doodling with Purpose.